and I've been thinking about this throughout this chat. There's a lot of extra games for Bayer Leverkusen, but now there's like a month, and that's actually kind of crazy to me that there's almost a month where there's no Champions League football. I know there's an international break in there. We have to figure out the final starters for the World Cup still, right? We still actually don't know what all 48 teams for the World Cup. So that's going to happen in March. So that puts a little bit of a break in it. But there is a month-long break between this round and the round of 16, which I actually think is crazy.
Well, that's kind of what I'm mentioning about like the prospect of Leverkusen kind of turning things on by that point, because they are struggling. I just checked there, and if you actually were to rank, if the Bundesliga had started at the start of 2026, so basically clubs, how many points each club's picked up in over the course of this calendar year, Leverkusen would be 9th in the table in the Bundesliga, which shows really, I think, just how absolutely dreadful they have been recently. And I mean, they are missing big players. Tapsoba's kind of been in and out of the team. Like Bade's been in and out of the team. I think Martin Terry is actually a big miss for them. Nathan Tella is a kind of really good kind of impact sub who's been kind of obviously been out injured for a while now. So, they haven't really clicked yet. And I think that's what I keep coming back to, or at least if they had clicked, they've kind of no longer clicking at this moment in time. And I think Human does have to kind of do something, because, it's all well and good kind of talking about, the Bundesliga getting that 5th Champions League spot. And I think last time I checked, because I did look into this I did that Q&A newsletter a couple of weeks ago, and I think it is between, forgot which nation were top, but Germany were second. I know that for a fact.
This in there in Cyprus.
It might have actually been Italy that were top at this point. I'm not quite sure, but obviously, as Greg said, that Inter defeat does kind of scupper that. But there's absolutely no guarantee that Leverkusen are going to finish in the top 5 as things stand, because you look at the way the Bundesliga is looking at right now. I'd say as things stand, that top 4 is pretty settled, because I don't really rate Leipzig kind of turning things around anytime soon. Hoffenheim looks solid. Stuttgart look pretty solid for the most part. I mean, I know both of them have kind of wobbly form, but no more so than anyone else. And then Leverkusen also have to compete with Freiburg breathing down their necks, and potentially a resurgent Frankfurt under the new head coach. So I don't think Leverkusen can rest on the laurels by any means. I think they have to find a way to kind of click back into gear. I think they have to do that with with scoring goals, in the sense that they've obviously got a very good target man up front who, in Patrick Schick, but hasn't really done tremendously well in the last kind of couple of games. He was certainly wasn't really on form in this game, and kind of missed, admittedly, 2 or 3 half chances, but I think he could have done better in all regards. The Leverkusen are certainly conceding a lot of goals right now. I know they didn't concede any goals in this game, but I think they're actually quite fortunate not to concede a goal in this game, even though the XG was quite low for Olympiacos. You look at Leverkusen's form in 2026, and they're basically conceding more than a goal per game in the Bundesliga, which just really isn't on. Maybe that's down to Flecken being out injured. I'm not quite sure. I'm prepared to go that far, but you look at that over-reliance on someone like Robert Andrich in the middle of the pitch, and the fact that 3-4-3 system doesn't really have an actual defensive midfielder in it. I know Palacios and Garcia can play those kind of box-to-box or holding midfielder roles, but I wouldn't say either of them are actual, classic defensive midfielders. And I think Yeoman's got a lot of work to do, between now and obviously the next round of the Champions League. But I think he won't even be thinking about that. He'll be happy, pat himself in the back tonight for getting Leverkusen to the last 16. It'll be a huge financial boom for them to do that, which is important for the club. But I think we'll have to see a far better Leverkusen team by the time they come up against Bayern or Arsenal, not just so they can compete with those 2 teams, but because if they aren't, they'll be nowhere near that top 4 or that top 5 by that point. I think they would have dropped off even further. So, I think we're going to have to see Leverkusen improve dramatically for sure.
100%. By the way, I looked up the coefficient standings. So England has 21.736 points. They're first. Germany now this is what this game concluded, is it's 17,214 at second, and then it's Portugal with 16,600. Is it
Portugal,
16,600 or 16,600? Either way. And then Spain with 16,406 and Italy with 16,071. Italy, of course, now you get massive points when one of your teams advance, which is what happened here, right? Leverkusen.
Yeah.
I think it's a full point if you advance.
But it also takes into account Europa League and Conference League as well, which is worth bearing in mind. And I think when I did the newsletter, I did point out, because you're reminding me now that we have to keep an eye on Portugal because Porto are in the Europa League, and they would presumably be not favourites to win that, but potential challengers to the likes of Stuttgart and things like that as well. Off the top of my head, Benfica have Real Madrid and Sporting have Man City, so there's a good chance both Portuguese teams could go out in this round.
Well, knocking out Atalanta tomorrow would put another big step ahead of them compared to Italy, at least.
Sure.
Yeah, they have it in their own hand. And I mean, Stuttgart beat Celtic comprehensively in the Europa League, right? So we assume they're going through. So yeah, you're right. But it is looking good, and this helps. I think that is pretty much all we need to say about this tie. We'll be back tomorrow to witness another 0-0 draw between Dortmund and Atalanta. And if you haven't fallen asleep by then, you can join us again when we come back. And yeah, until then, auf Wiedersehen, everyone.